Hello everyone, welcome to the discussion on sex-linked inheritance. So the inheritance or a trait that is determined by a gene that is located on the sex chromosomes are called as the are called is called as a sex-linked inheritance. So because these traits are linked to the sex chromosomes, either to the X chromosome or to the Y chromosome, they are specifically called as sex chromosome inheritance or sex chromosome or sex-linked genes. Sex-linked genes, they can be classified because you have in humans we have two types of sex chromosome, that is the X and Y. As a result, the sex-linked genes are classified into X-linked genes and Y-linked genes, or otherwise called as the holandric genes. So in humans, the term generally refers to the trait that is influenced by the genes in the X chromosome. That is, the term sex-linked inheritance is usually used for those inheritances which are X-linked rather than Y-linked, because it is the usage of the terminology. It does not have anything with the definition. So usually when you say something which is sex-linked inheritance in humans, it refers to those inheritances which are X-linked. Y-linked inheritances, specifically you say that they are Y-linked inheritances or Y-linked traits. This is because the X chromosome is large and contains many genes than the smaller Y chromosomes. So, as the X chromosome is longer than the Y chromosome, it has a long segment which is non homologous with Y. So, because both the chromosomes, whether it's X and Y chromosomes, they are not of the equal length, the X chromosome is larger compared to the Y chromosome. And when you take both the chromosomes, so if you take these as the, so if I take both the chromosome, that is the X as well as the Y chromosome. So what you can see here is so if this is the X chromosome and you have a very smaller Y chromosome, so this one is X. If you compare the sizes, and this one can be called as the Y chromosome. So what happens here is the homologous part. That means if I shade these regions, so this is, or this much will be the region which is only for Y chromosome. That is, these are the genes which I am marking in red are the genes which are present only in Y chromosome. They do not have any homologous part in that of the X chromosome. And the same thing if you take the case with Y chromosome, sorry, X chromosome, you can see here that all these regions, this does not have any homologous region with the it does not have any homologous region with the X or the Y chromosome. This particular region, that means this entire thing which I have marked now, that is having or the genes which are being marked here. So this much genes in the X chromosome, it does not have any homologous region with the Y chromosome. That is why we say that as the X chromosome is longer than the Y chromosome, it has a long segment which is non-homologous. So this is a long segment that is non-homologous with the Y chromosome, and there are small regions here. Also, you can see in the Y chromosome a small section, and also in the X chromosome there is a small section which is homologous for both because it is present in both. And this non-homologous portion of the X chromosomes carries completely X-linked genes. So this entire portion, so the non-homologous region of the X chromosome is the region which carries the X-linked genes, and this is the region which carries the Y-linked genes. So similarly, there are short segments in the Y chromosome which is non-homologous with the X, and they are called as the Y link. Sorry, in the non-homologous with the X chromosome, and that is called as the Y-linked gene. So this particular portion which I have marked here, it does not have any homologous region with the X chromosome, and that is called as completely Y-linked genes. So as we said, there is a homologous portion. So this is a homologous portion, the uncolored region, and this uncolored region. Uh, these genes, they are homologous, or they show homologous regions or homologous genes in both X and Y chromosome, and these are called as pseudo autosomal regions. And these are called as pseudo autosomal because they behave just like normal autosomal genes. That is, they show crossing over a short portion which is show crossing over, and they also show the inheritance pattern as that of the autosomal genes. And because they are similar, showing such features which are similar to autosomal genes, but they are present in sex chromosome, such genes are usually referred to as pseudo autosomal genes. So, if you take the X and Y chromosome, you can distinguish three different types of genes. That is the non-homologous region of the X chromosome called as the X-linked genes, non-homologous genes which is present in the Y chromosome called as the Y-linked genes, and the homologous portion which is present in both X and Y, they are called as the pseudo-autosomal genes. So these are the different types of genes that can be seen in, or that can be distinguished in both X and Y chromosome. And now we are actually interested in what is called as sex-linked genes, which is the X-linked genes, which are, or we are now going to see the inheritance patterns of those non-homologous gene in the X and Y chromosomes, which are defined as X-linked genes and Y-linked genes. So next we are going to see the characteristic features of sex-linked genes. Because they are non-homologous genes, they have some peculiar pattern of inheritance. There are some peculiar features, and their pattern of inheritance, etc. So now we'll see what are the characteristic features of these particular sex-linked inheritance or sex-linked genes. Rather than inheritance, you can call it as the characteristics of the sex-linked genes. So these genes, they are located in one of the sex chromosomes, either in the X chromosome or in the Y chromosome. And coming to X-linked recessive traits. So coming to recessive traits, so as usual, as we discussed in the Mendelian genetics or Mendelian type of inheritance, when you have a recessive trait, as we said, they will be expressed only in the homozygous condition. Okay, that trait can be expressed only in the homozygous condition, and the trait will be expressed if it is normal in Mendelian inheritance. We discussed about only autosomal genes. We didn't discuss anything about the sex chromosomal genes, etc. We didn't consider that in Mendelian inheritance. As a result, when we discuss the normal Mendelian pattern of inheritance, we say that whenever you have a particular gene which is showing, which is called as a which is a recessive trait, we say that the recessive that particular trait or that particular character will be expressed only in the homozygous condition. That is what we said, what we discussed when we discussed about Mendelian pattern of inheritance. And when you come to so this particular sex-linked genes also show a pattern or which is a Mendelian type of dominance, etc. But there is a difference here. Difference in the sense, autosomal genes are same, or they are similar in the case of the numbers are similar in the case of both sexes, male as well as female. But when you come to sex chromosome, that is different. Males have only one X chromosome and the other one is Y, and females are having two X chromosome. As a result, the pattern of inheritance that is shown by males and females with regard to both X as well as Y chromosomes are different. The difference is because females have two X chromosomes and males are having only one X chromosome. And because of that, both in males and in females, you can see the inheritance patterns of these two sex chromosomes in a different pattern. So if you take the case with X chromosome in females, females will show the pattern of inheritance of X chromosome similar to that of autosomes. In the sense, if you're having an X-linked recessive trait, that is a recessive trait, and we are going to discuss that with females or with the individuals with two X chromosome. So in such individuals or in females, an X-linked recessive trait will be expressed only in the homozygous condition. That is as usual Mendelian pattern. That means a recessive trait can be expressed only in the homozygous condition. In the heterozygous condition, only the dominant trait or the dominant allele will be expressed. You have two X chromosome, and the dominant allele will be expressed in the heterozygous condition. That is the case with females. So, females, with regard to the inheritance of X-linked genes, it will show a pattern that is similar to Mendelian dominance in the sense the dominant trait will be expressed both in the both in the homozygous as well as the heterozygous condition, and the recessive trait can be expressed only in the homozygous condition. And coming to the case with males, in males the condition will be different because males are having only one X chromosome, and in the sense, X linked recessive traits are more commonly expressed in males than in females. Because when males receive the X chromosome, or when males receive an X chromosome which is containing the recessive trait, because they have only one X chromosome, that recessive trait will be expressed without any dominance or recessive relationship, because human males have only one X chromosome. In such cases, whatever the X chromosome contains, that will be expressed. And this is because that is why X-linked recessive traits are more commonly expressed in males than in females. So, in the case of X-linked inheritance or X-linked genes and X-linked the inheritance pattern of many diseases which are X-linked caused by X-linked genes, many inheritance of many diseases, many genetic diseases which are X-linked, they will be more commonly expressed in males than in females. So this is due to the fact that males possesses only a single X chromosome and therefore require only one mutated gene in order to be effective. So that is what we discussed earlier. Because if they receive a single recessive allele, that will be expressed. Women possessing two X chromosomes and thus must receive two mutant recessive alleles, that is in the homozygous condition, each one from each parent. So Y-linked genes are exclusively expressed in males, that is, they show only male to male inheritance without any involvement of female, and that is why they are called as Hollandric genes. So males transmit the X-linked genes only to daughters, and female can transmit them both to sons and daughters in equal frequency. So if you consider the inheritance of the X and Y chromosomes, so if you see, we'll just see how they are being inherited or how they are being transmitted from one generation to the other. So what happens is, in the case of this X and Y, so if I take a male with X and Y chromosome, and I'm taking a female with two X chromosomes. So here this will produce gametes which are two different gametes because it is X gamete X, and you will have a Y gamete. So always in for males. So these are the two gametes which are produced by the males. So if the offspring of these two parents is a male, it can be clearly said that the X chromosome is donated by the mother and Y chromosome can be given only by the father. So in males, in a male offspring, The X chromosome will be by the or donated by the mother, and Y chromosome will be donated by the father. X chromosome is always in every male. The X chromosome is from the mother, or it is maternally inherited, and Y chromosome is the one that comes out from the father. But when you see the case with females, in females, one of the X chromosome will be donated by the father, and the other will be, because father can give only the X chromosome for the female, and mother will give one of her X chromosome. So in females have the contribution of the X chromosome from both the parents, from the father as well as from the mother. But in the case with males, they receive the X chromosome from the mother. Every males, they receive the X chromosome from the mother and Y chromosome from the father. And because of this particular pattern of inheritance of the X chromosome, they show a pattern of inheritance which is called as, so this is with regard to the X chromosome or X-linked genes. So males transmit the X-linked genes only to daughters, but females can transmit to both sons as well as daughters in equal frequency. uh, they show, and this X-linked genes, they show a pattern of inheritance which is called as Criss-Cross inheritance. Criss-Cross inheritance in the sense that this particular genes are transmitted from the father to grandson through the daughter in a zigzag fashion. So we'll discuss that in detail in the next session. What is a criss-cross pattern? So a criss-cross pattern of inheritance is nothing but that trait or that character is transmitted from the father directly to the grandson. That means you can see that particular trait being expressed only in the father and grandson, and it will be through the doctor. Through the daughter, where the daughter will be. So the daughter usually do not show the particular phenotype. So the daughter will remain as a carrier for that particular trait, but both the father and the grandson will be expressing that trait. So this particular pattern of inheritance is usually called as criss-cross inheritance or a zigzag inheritance. And reciprocal crosses involving sex-linked traits usually yield different F1 and F2 phenotypic ratio. So that is evident because reciprocal crosses, we discussed reciprocal crosses with Mendelian type of inheritance with autosomal genes. But when you do the same thing with the sex linked genes, that is X and Y, the F1 and the F2 generation will be entirely different. So reciprocal crosses also will yield different ratios. When you consider reciprocal cross means in one generation, if you take a particular trait to be present in a male, you take the opposite in the next cross. That is, you take that particular trait to be considered to be a female. So you just interchange the sexes in a reciprocal cross. So in that, when you do, what happens is the F1 and F2 will be different, because in the first case, if you are taking the X chromosome will be in a male, the other case you will have both, you will have that in two X chromosomes. So the pattern of the F1 and the F2 progeny will be different in reciprocal crosses which is related to the sex linked genes. So next we'll discuss in detail about what is called as a criss-cross inheritance or a zigzag inheritance. So a criss-cross inheritance or a zigzag inheritance, it is a pattern of inheritance which is shown by sex-linked genes. So here sex-linked genes, here we are entirely referring to the genes which are called as the genes which is the X-linked genes. Because as we said in the introduction itself, in humans, sex-linked genes usually refers to the genes which are X-linked. Y-linked, you specifically say that they are Y-linked. For X-linked genes, it is interchangeably used. Sex-linked inheritance or sex-linked genes, the term represents in humans, the term represents those genes which are X-linked genes. So here it is the pattern of inheritance of X-linked gene that what we are going to discuss in what is called as the criss-cross inheritance. So the pattern of inheritance is different from that of autosomal genes. So here, as we said, the males being hemizygous and the females are homozygous for X-linked disease. Hemizygous means they are having only one X chromosome. That is why they are called as hemizygous. Females are homozygous for X-linked genes. So X chromosome from the father goes to the daughter and not to the sons. So sons does not receive X chromosome from the father. All sons receive X chromosome from the mother. Daughters receive X chromosome from both the father and the other from the mother. And Y chromosomes are passed from father to the sons and not to daughters. So X-linked genes exhibit a criss-cross pattern of inheritance where the genes goes from father to the daughter and from the daughter to her sons and daughters to the next generation. So this is the pattern. So here father is having that particular trait. So here we are considering a disease, which is a disease or a condition. You cannot call it as a disease. It's a condition which is called as color blindness. So this particular color blindness is a recessive uh, type of, or it is an X-linked recessive trait. That means it is a recessive allele which is showing a mutated recessive allele which will give you this particular condition which is called as color blindness. So what happens is the father here is colorblind and the X chromosome, father is XY, and that particular X chromosome will is the one which is which is containing the mutated allele, because it is, we are discussing about the sex linked inheritance here in humans. So that is which is related to the X chromosome. So here the X chromosome here is the affected X chromosome. Okay, and that affected X chromosome. So if I mark it as uh, for the sake of discussion, I will mark this one as XC, which is the diseased one, and the Y chromosome is normal here. And I consider the mother to be completely normal here. That is X. So she does not carry any recessive allele here. So here what happens is that uh, the father, anyway, he will contribute the X chromosome to the daughter. So here in genetics, these symbols, circle usually represents females and squares usually represent males. And to show an affected individual, it will be in solid color. And if it is a carrier means that particular person have that diseased gene, but it is not expressed. Expressed in the sense it might be a recessive allele, so it can be expressed only in the homozygous condition. So uh, heterozygotes for a particular trait, particular disease or a particular condition like color blindness, hemophilia, etc. That is usually will be marked like this, which will be shaded like this. If solid color, it shows an affected individual. If it is shaded, it is a carrier. So here, one X chromosome for this daughter. So circle as female. So this daughter receive one X chromosome from the mother. So for this, one is a normal X chromosome and the other X chromosome is definitely from the father, and that will be an affected X chromosome like this. Okay, so she is having a defective allele, but being recessive, this will not be expressed because in the heterozygous condition, the dominant one will be expressed, and hence she will be a carrier. She will not show this condition. She is a carrier for this allele, so she will be normal. You cannot you cannot see the expression of that particular trait in that particular female. And here the male is normal because he receives a Y chromosome normal and X chromosome from the mother is also normal. In the next generation from this daughter, from the marriage between this daughter, what happens is if this daughter marries a normal man, what happens is the X chromosome, there is a 50 percentage chance because half of the X chromosome is normal and half of the X chromosome is the affected or contains a recessive allele. So if happens that this particular X chromosome is received by a male, so if this is that particular male, so he is receiving this particular X chromosome from this mother and Y chromosome, the normal Y chromosome from the father. So now you can see that this particular condition is jumping in a manner that father to daughter or father to grandson. So this is the grandson here. So father to grandson, this condition is expressed in father, and in the next generation, so this is the father which is expressed this condition, who expresses the condition which is in solid color, and this is the grandson who is expressing the condition. So father, the trait is being father because you can see the trait only in father and the grandson, and it is passed on by the daughter. So from father to daughter to grandson. Again, from this particular grandson, he becomes a father. Father again to daughter, in the next generation to the daughter, who will be again a carrier, and then to grandson. Okay, so this particular pattern, so this is where you can see like a zigzag. Okay, and this zigzag or this pattern of inheritance is usually from father to daughter to grandson. This pattern of inheritance is usually referred to as a crisscross inheritance. So here you might think that why these females are not getting affected. Females definitely can get affected when they have an affected father and a carrier female, or if both are affected. There can be two conditions where females can get this particular condition, and the two conditions are, one is both the parents are affected. If both the parents are affected, definitely all the offsprings will have the condition. The second condition is if father is affected and mother is a carrier, there is a chance for that. That means that is a case where we say that here, two conditions are there when females get affected. So, in this particular example, the example which we discussed here, that is this particular example, we are considering the other partner. That is, in this case, this female's partner is to be normal. Here also the male's partner. So here the mother, you can see it is normal. So here also the male, the mother, the female which is involved in this particular cross, we consider it as normal. So you do not consider in this particular example to show this crisscross pattern, we consider the partner of the affected individual or the carrier individual to be completely normal. They are not carriers. So if they are carriers, that means if this is the condition, that means if you have a condition like this, that is, if you take two parents like XC, which is affected, and XC, which is affected mother, and affected father. If the father is not affected, the females definitely will be carriers because they are receiving one X chromosome from the father, and all males will be, in this case, all males will be affected in this case because they are receiving the X chromosome only from the mother. If these are the parents, if they are the parents, that is, mother is affected and father is normal, all their male individuals or the male children, all the sons will be affected by this particular disease, and all the females, all the daughters will be carriers in this particular case. Okay, and we are taking another condition, both male and female is affected. In this particular case, all the sons and daughters of this particular couple will be affected. And we are taking another condition where the female is a carrier, not affected, she is a carrier, and the male is affected. Okay, if these are this is a couple, you can expect the sons as well as the daughters to be affected in this case, because there is a 50% chance for the daughters to receive this, and definitely they will receive one from the father. And if these two comes together in a female, they will be affected. So for females to be affected, you either should have this particular condition where both the parents are affected, or you should have a condition like this where mother or the mother is carrier and the father is affected. In this particular both the conditions, female can also inherit an X-linked recessive trait. Okay, so it is not that females does not carry this particular disease, or females are immune to that particular trait. Females can get this particular trait only in these two conditions, when both the parents are affected, or when one is a carrier and the other is affected. Otherwise, in all the other cases, females will be carriers or females will be normal. They will not be affected. So this is with regard to what is called as a crisscross inheritance. And next we are going to discuss about the particular type of conditions which are called as the examples of the X-linked inheritance or sex-linked inheritance. We will be discussing two examples. One is hemophilia and the other one is color blindness. So we'll discuss that in the next section. Thanks for hearing.